Amy, Child of the Stars, Book 1, Chapter 8, Ophir. The white mist dispersed. I approached the windows, and I could look down onto meadows bathed in soft orange light. This was another world. I was very excited. Little by little, we began to descend into the beautiful autumnal landscape. How incredible! I'm looking at another planet. I am pleased that you're enjoying the trip. This world is so beautiful, Amy. Look at the sun. Amy said to me, smiling. An enormous reddish disk stood out over the head. It appeared at least 50 times larger than our own sun looking from Earth. It's 400 times as large, he explained. 400 times! How awesome! But it doesn't look as if it were that enormous, because it's very far away. What world is this? This is the planet Ophir, replied Amy. Ophir, I like the name. Is it inhabited? Sure, its inhabitants have an earthly origin, but they came here many thousand years ago. What? That remark stood everything I knew about history on his head. Cave dwellers could travel to the stars a million years ago? Amy moved some controls and said, So many things are unknown to you in your world, Peter. Once upon a time, on a continent on Earth, thousands of years ago, there existed a civilization similar to yours, one that has disappeared now. Then, the Atlantis? I interrupted. Look, Peter, some fables hold part of the historical truth even when there has been a lot of distortion, Amy said. Then something very ugly happened there, something very unfortunate. What happened, Amy? The scientific level of those who ruled had gone too far beyond the level of solidarity. Therefore, they became intelligent evil, as you would say. Achieving such great technological knowledge and power made them full of pride and arrogance, blinding them to the wisdom of the heart and to all existential profound things. Having such destructive power in their hands, what happened next had to happen. They destroyed themselves? Naturally, though some of them fled to other continents and survived, but they took with them their folly, their pride, and aggression. Since then, your world is the way it is. Your modern civilization and you yourself are the result of all that. You are a descendant of those who survived. It's incredible that a former civilization really existed. And what about the people of Ophir? How did they arrive on this planet? We brought them here. A little before the disaster, we rescued all of those who had 700 measures or more, although very few were saved because the average evolutionary condition of human beings at that time was only 100 measures less than today. Earth and its creatures have evolved since then, and at the present there are many more people at that level. And if there were a disaster on Earth, would you rescue some people again? The idea is not to have any disaster, but if it's unavoidable, then we would have to rescue everyone who has over 700 measures. They would be taken to populate a new world. That made me very happy. I kind of assumed I would be among those who rescued. Really? Great. And where would you take us? I said only those who exceeded 700 measures. Well, what about me, Amy? Do I have 700 measures? I told you, I can't answer that. How can you find out who has 700 measures or more? All those who dedicate themselves to the good of everyone and are motivated only by the spirit of solidarity have that level of measures or more. And when I say everyone, I don't just mean family, friends, political party or whatever. And when I say the good, I'm referring to what is in harmony with the fundamental law of the universe. There's that famous law again. Can you explain it to me now? Not yet. Have patience. But why is it so important? Because if you don't know this law, you won't know the difference between good and evil. Many people kill thinking that they're doing good. They ignore the universal law. Others torture, plant bombs, create arms, destroy nature, and cause those weaker than themselves to suffer. They do all this while thinking that they're doing something good. But they are all doing great evil without realizing it, because they don't know the fundamental law of the universe. Nevertheless, they will have to pay for breaking that law, because they must learn that some things shouldn't ever be done. You said before that God doesn't punish. Peter, I have already explained that everything that we do comes back to us. If we do good, we receive good in return. If we do evil, we can't expect to receive anything nice in return. And this always happens, Amy. Well, when somebody recognizes clearly that he or she had made a mistake, then there's no need for further correction. It never occurred to me that things worked this way. Well, they do, and it's more important than you think. If only the people on your planet would understand this principle and put it into practice, your world would turn into a veritable paradise. I sat down on a chair next to Amy to observe that beautiful planet on the screen. I was impatient to see its inhabitants. We were cruising slowly at an altitude of about 300 meters. I could see many flying vehicles similar to ours. As they got closer, I saw that they varied in shape and size. I didn't see any great mountain ranges or desert on that planet. Everything was carpeted with multicolored vegetation, spread out in areas of distinct shades of green, brown, and orange. There were many hills, lagoons, rivers, and lakes with luminous sky blue water. It looks like something out of paradise. I could make out some semi-spherical houses that formed a circle around the main building. Many were constructed like pyramids, but some built with stepped sides, others smooth, with triangular or square bases. But most of them, there were those semi-spherical houses in light colors, but very often white. Then the inhabitants of that world began to appear. From the height of the spaceship, I could see them traveling on roads and playing in rivers and lagoons. They looked like humans, at least from a distance. Many of them wore loose tunics of different colors. But there were no cities to be seen. There are none in Ophir or in any other evolved world. Big cities are a prehistoric way of living together, Amy said. Why? Because they have so many defects. One of them is that too many people living in the same place produces an imbalance that affects both the people and the planet. The planet? Planets are living beings with greater or lesser evolution. Only life produces life. That is why all is alive. Everything is interdependent. Everything is interrelated. What happens to Earth affects the people who inhabit it, and the other way around as well. But why do too many people in the same place produce an imbalance? Because they're not happy or stacked up together, and the Earth can feel this. People need space, trees, flowers, water, and fresh air. Even the more evolved people? I asked. I was confused, because Amy was hinting that in advanced society, people lived in countryside settings, and I had thought it was going to be just the opposite. Artificial cities in orbit, immense citadel buildings, subterranean metropolises with millions of people, plastic and metal everywhere, just like in sci-fi movies. The more evolved people are, the more they need to live in contact with nature, Amy responded. I thought it would be the other way around, that only savages lived close to nature. If people on Earth didn't think so back to front, they wouldn't be in danger of destroying themselves again. You can live amidst nature in a very civilized manner, Peter. What about these people who came to Ophir? Didn't they want to return to Earth? No. Why not? They had left the nest. Grown-ups don't go back. It would be too small for them. As we approached those white, very modern-looking buildings, we began to descend. On an evolved planet, this is the nearest thing to a city. It's a center of organization for assistance, holding meetings and for cultural presentations. People come here occasionally to meet other people, to join in social gatherings and celebration, or to attend some kind of artistic, spiritual, or scientific event, but no one lives here. Amy stops the spaceship at a height of around 5 meters and enthusiastically exclaimed, "Now you're going to meet your ancestors from thousands of years ago. Are we going to leave the spaceship? Not on your life. Why not? Because the germs you're carrying will kill everyone in this world. So why don't they hurt you? I have been vaccinated, but before I return to my planet, I have to undergo a purification treatment." Many people were walking around. When one of them passed near the windows of our spaceship, something alarming dawned on me. They were gigantic. "Amy, these aren't Earthlings, they're monsters." "Why?" he joked. "Because they're around twice as tall as the people in our world. Twice as tall. A little more, a little less, but they don't feel that they are especially tall." "But you said that they come from Earth, and there, people are only half as tall." "That's because the conditions of life on this planet are different than those on Earth and encourage more growth." No one paid us the slightest bit of attention. They were slender, tanned people with slim hips and good posture. They all looked very calm, relaxed, and friendly. Their eyes reflected serenity. They were large and luminous, almond-shaped, like those that appear on Egyptian paintings. The ancient Egyptians, Mayans, Incas, Greeks, Aztecs, and Celts, among other peoples, shared a common ancestry with the people you see here. Those ethnic groups on Earth come from the remains of that ancient civilization which we were talking about, Amy explained to me. These friends you see here are direct descendants of what you know as Atlanteans. In general, the people were not walking alone, but in groups. As they talked, they touched each other a lot. They were arm in arm, or with their arms around each other's shoulders. Some people walk hand in hand. Whenever they meet or said goodbye, there were displays of great affection. They were very happy and definitely not worrying about a thing. Just as I told you, they aren't worried, Amy reminded me. I hope you will learn to be like them. Why are they so happy? I asked this question because on Earth, people in the streets looked so serious and nobody paid attention to anybody. Here, they all looked as if they were friends at a party. Because they're in harmony with life, and life produces happiness simply because of being alive, so long as we remember that. These people know it, but in your world, people forget because they have such nightmares always on their minds. And they don't have any problems. They have challenges, not problems. My uncle says that life only has meaning when there are problems to solve, and that a person with no problems would shoot himself. Your uncle was talking about problems for his intellect. This is because he has activity in only one of the two centers that I mentioned to you. Your uncle is basically intellect on two legs. The intellect is like a computer that can't stop functioning, at least as long as the other center, the emotional one, is underdeveloped. Sometimes the intellect can't find any problems to solve, and if at the same time the emotional center can't find a refreshing and healthy connection with real life, with the present moment, with the here and now, that person could go crazy and even think about shooting himself. I felt that he was talking about me because I'm always thinking. What's real life besides thinking? Try leaving the mind in peace and simply sense the present moment, enjoying what you see, listening to the sounds, touching, being aware of your breathing, smelling, tasting, feeling, observing life with a new, fresh, innocent, and loving eyes. Are you happy right now? I don't know. If you would only stop thinking for a bit, you would be more happy. Try remembering this. You are in a spaceship, in a world light years away from Earth. You are contemplating an evolved planet, really civilized, inhabited by people from ancient Atlantis. That makes you a very privileged boy. How many people would love to change places with you? Instead of thinking a lot of nonsense, look around, take advantage of this moment. I felt that Amy was right, but still I had one question and I asked it. Then, thinking isn't good for anything? A typical Earthling conclusion, he laughed. If it's not for the best, then it must be for the worst. If it's not white, it simply has to be black. If it's not perfect, it's hopeless. If it's not God, it's the devil. Mental extremism. Amy made himself more comfortable in the chair. Of course, thinking is good for some things. Without thinking, you would be like a vegetable. But thinking isn't the greatest human achievement. What is it then? To enjoy? To be able to enjoy something, you must realize that you are enjoying it. Then realizing isn't the same as thinking? No. To realize is to be aware, to be conscious, and consciousness is more than thought. Then consciousness is the best? I concluded, already a little tired of the mess I've got myself in because of my questions. Not that either, Amy said, giving me a mysterious smile. Here's an example. You realize that you have heard a strange music recently. I first neglected, of course, but I didn't like it. You realize that you were listening to a strange music. You were conscious of it, but that didn't mean you liked it. No, not really. So, to enjoy something, consciousness is not enough, and realizing is not enough either. You're right. What's missing then? The main thing. You enjoyed the second piece of music, right? Yes, because I liked it. You see, liking is halfway to loving. Without love, there's no enjoyment. In a human achievement stakes, love comes first. Consciousness takes second place. But on its own, it isn't sufficient to enjoy something. Thought comes in third. We evolved people seek to love everything, to live in love. So we enjoy ourselves more. You didn't like the moon? I did. I enjoy myself more, and I'm happier than you are. Then, love is tops in the universe. Now you've got it perfectly, Peter. And do they know this on Earth? Did you know it? Did they teach you that in school? No. Don't you think it's odd that you weren't told in school about the most important thing in the universe? Now that you mentioned it, why isn't anything thought about that? Because down there, they are only at the third stage, concerned with intellect, ideas, reasons, and thoughts. That's why those who think a lot are called wise, even though they work on making instruments for destroying humankind, and why those who commit mass murder are sometimes called heroes. You were right when you said that on Earth that we think back to front. Then just observe the world of Ophir for a while. Here, things are more front to back. The lack of sleep, all the day's emotions, and Amy's new teachings had worn me out. Outside the window, I could see gigantic people, their children, the stylized buildings, and flying and earthbound vehicles, but I was so tired that I was losing interest in everything. Do you know how old that man is? Amy asked, pointing to a man who was near the spaceship. He had white hair, but he didn't look elderly. He looked young. About 60? He's about 500 years old. I felt dizzy, exhausted. My head was about to explode. You know what, Amy? I'm tired. I need to rest, sleep, go home. I don't want to know anything more right now. I feel sick. Don't want to see anything more. Information overload, Amy joked. Come on, Peter, lie down here. He took me over to one of the reclining chairs, lowered it, and transformed it into a soft divan. I made myself comfortable on it. He placed something behind my head, and I fell asleep instantly. I let myself go and slept soundly for several hours. End of chapter 8. If you like the story, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can also donate to the channel with the PayPal information down below in the description. Thank you, and see you at the next video.